Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Well, I made a mistake. A lot of people have. We thought the dryer made clothes shrink. Turns out it's the refrigerator. Good morning. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Come on, Patriots, call in. Good morning, good morning. And a good morning to you and yours. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, and brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, with a great big fall tire sale going on right now. You stop in, see them today. Along with Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And, of course, Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wheels, you're a little bit low, and turn that up a little bit if you would, my friend. Thank you for that pledge. And right now, let's go to K&R Rental, and they've got the weather forecast for us at 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn on the Burley-Paul Highway. Hello, Roger and the crew. They get there early in the morning at 7 a.m. to serve you with the best of tools and equipment you need to do any job. Now, there's a lot of things that need to be done before we get the cold turf. I mean, frozen outside. So if you've got any digging or whatever, you better get over there and check out all the equipment to finish the job, along with the air compressors to blow out those sprinkler lines, and they've got all the heaters. They've got it all for you at K&R Rental. Here's Gina with the weather with the W.
Today's the nicest day of the weekend, then we're going to be cooling off with precipitation for the weekend. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies for today. High of 74, slight breeze out of the east at about 6 miles an hour. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies with a low of about 44. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy. We are expecting a high of 58. Winds are going to be picking up out of the south at about 10 miles an hour. Winds could gust as high as 25 miles an hour. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy skies with a low of 35. By Friday, mostly sunny. High of 53. Winds out of the west at about 15. Gusts as high as 25 miles an hour. And by Saturday, rain showers all day long and a high of 50. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
No, great. I wanted rain on Saturday. No, I've got things to do. Holy smokes. Weather brought to you by K&R Rental. 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn. You can't miss them. They're on the Burley-Paul Highway. Number to call, 678-3122. Let me say that again. I almost chopped off a 2. 678-3122. K&R Rental, and you get over there for all the best tools and equipment. They've got them. Thank you. 3122. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. Don't forget, Ramsey Heating and Electric. It's one of those days where right off the get-go this morning I started messing things up, so bear with me. It's going to be a long morning. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0455. 459. And they also open up early in the morning at 7:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. I say this every day, and it's really the truth. All your heating, cooling, and electrical needs with people that really are professional and know with the best of experience and almost 7 decades of serving you. Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, there's a couple of quotations, and I don't know where they come from. Could be out of the Bible. But one of them is, the truth will prevail. And the other one is, the truth will set you free. Don't you think this would be a good idea if Adam Schiff would maybe review that little statement?
Oh, come on, Keith. You know as well as I do that they are on a NASCAR fast track to get rid of this presidency. That is their main goal and objective. It doesn't make any difference to these politicians about whether they're lying or whether they're coloring in the areas with gray or whether they're manipulating. It doesn't make any difference to them. They have one goal in mind, and that's to have complete power and control over this country, the United States of America. And after I forced myself last night to watch 3 hours of that stupid, inane, absolutely inept debate, I'm convinced there's not a one of them that were standing behind the podiums last night that have the sense that God gave a billy goat.
Yeah, and you take like Adam Schiff, deliberately standing up there and lying when he presented that fairy tale that he put out to the whole world to listen to.
Yeah. Adam Schiff is nothing.
People heard that.
Yeah, I know. But Adam Schiff really is nothing more than a poster boy. He's nothing more than a figurehead that's been literally, he accepted the position of being the most obnoxious person the Democrats could find. And quite frankly, he's doing a great job of being obnoxious. I can't think of anybody that is more obnoxious. But, they're going to keep going on this trail. They're going to keep throwing rocks in the road against the president, this administration. They're going to be creating all kinds of problems. It's just a gimme. We, the voters, have to throw the Democrats out of the House this next year. I would love to see a complete control of the House, the Senate, and the Oval Office by the Republicans, and watch the Democrats go down the yellow brick road with their tail between their legs.
And there is one other thing I'd like to bring up, and that is the fact that every one of these candidates scream and yell. Now, if they're going to be president, are they going to try to get their way by screaming and yelling?
Oh, there's so much. I agree with you. They're like little children that somebody at recess took their graham cracker and their glass of milk. It's pathetic. Got to run, my friend. God bless you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
You bet.
All right, thank you. Want to remind everybody about Denny's Restaurant, and we'll take that next call in just a minute. Caller, don't get mad. I'll be right with you. Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley. Oh, my, and another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. When I keep telling you every morning about eating there for breakfast, lunch, dinner, anytime, all the time, desserts, etc., I hope you heed my advice on this, because they have got some new additions to their menus that are absolutely phenomenal. The strawberry crepes. Just ask my wife about the strawberry crepes. Great. You're going to love it anytime, and the nice people serving you at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant. And we're going to be over there on the 24th next week on Thursday for Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Don't you miss it. Want to also quickly remind you, I know a guy in Burley, and you folks should know him if you're looking for a camper shell. Let me tell you, there's nobody that knows more about camper shells than Save On Shells with Anthony at 1827 Overland in Burley. Went to college and majored in camperology. I'm telling you, he knows all about them. Quality, service, low prices, all the different colors, all the different designs. Holy no, I know because I bought one from him. I bought a couple of them from him. Absolutely excellent Save on Shells, 1827 Overland and Burley. Number to call, write this down, got a pen? 312-1525, Save on Shells. Caller, good morning, you're on the air, thank you.
Good morning. The menu for lunch at Senior Center on South Overland today is ham, roasted potatoes, mixed veggies and salad, and homemade cookies.
Homemade cookies. What's your favorite kind of cookie, Joe?
Chocolate chip.
Really? One of these days, don't be surprised if I stop over there with a great big box of chocolate chip cookies for you. You deserve it for all you do.
You'd be most welcome.
I bet I would be. And lunch is only $5, right?
That's right. Call ahead and they'll have one ready for you to go.
All right, Joe. At the Senior Center on Overland, God bless you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good guy right there. Hey, the debates last night, I just... Why did I sit there for 3 hours? It was the same old, just a kind of a switching in the new target that the Democrats were aiming at last night, and that target was Elizabeth Warren. She is now purportedly the front runner, if you will. And the whole 3 hours was an exercise in stupidity and group think. I mean, it was ridiculous. And I got to say this before I take the call. I did not hear, and if somebody else corrects me on this and can prove it by pointing to a part of the tape or whatever, I did not hear, not once through that silly 3 hours of so-called debate, any mention of Hong Kong, China, the NBA problem. It was all Russia, Putin, and impeach Trump. Tell me if I'm wrong, but here we have a major threat in the world, not just against us, with a kind of a enveloping problem of taking over everything, and that's China, like a cancer encroaching on everything, and it wasn't even mentioned? Caller, good morning, you're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. I watched a little bit of it, but I turned over to Gunsmoke. But anyway, you might have the resources to find out exactly which individuals or persons or countries are behind the flooding of our country with all these undocumented insurgents.
Oh, I don't think there's any need to look it up. There's a couple of people that you can look to, and one being George Soros is a big financier of all the undocumented and illegals trying to make a surge into this country of the United States. For some reason, George Soros hates this country and hates our capitalism and hates our Constitution and hates our way of life, and absolutely wants to do anything and everything he can to destroy it. A lot of big money right there, and quite frankly, George Soros, along others, Tony, are just absolutely insidious, evil, underline that word, evil people.
Well, I hope this is all brought out constantly every day, pointing out the exact people who are causing all the problems. Maybe we'll have enough outcry from people to put a stop to this, or at least slow this invasion down.
No, it's not going to happen. I'll tell you what, I've talked to many people off the air with Frosty Woldridge and off the air with quite a few of the immigration experts back in D.C., etc., that you see on Fox News, etc., and their concerns are that the immigration problems are going to become worse. There's going to be more of a saying to heck with Trump's wall, we're going to send them in anyway. I think that going into the spring, this is a prediction I hope I am dead wrong on, and I want you to write it down, and I want you to call me about March or April of next year, and hopefully I'm wrong, and you can go, Zeb, boy, did you make a mistake. But I think we're going to see such a surge such a surge next spring, right during the big push for all the advertising on the presidency. We're going to see a big surge of all the illegals coming in. There's going to be a mess. It's going to get bigger and bigger.
Well, we're going to have another set of violence in this country. I'm sure of that.
Well, Tony,
the American people aren't going to sit back and take it.
No, and, it's coming to the point where anybody on a talk show like this, if you say anything about violence or the purported advocacy of violence, you're going to be the door's going to get closed in your face. But I'm just going to be blunt. The left in this country and this world is forcing, coercing, and arm twisting us on the right side, the conservative side, into a corner to where we've got to fight back sooner or later.
Well, I'm with the bunch of ex-GIs in this country will do whatever it takes to stop what's going on.
Amen. And knowing you, even though you're pushing your 9 decades, I absolutely wouldn't tangle with you for anything.
Well, my finger is still in good shape.
God bless you, Tony. Thank you.
Okay,
I like that. Calls welcome. Caller, I'll be right with you. I know you're waiting. I've got to get this in, and I'm going to talk about and brag about, because it's not brag, it's a fact, about Ark Animal Hospital and Dr. Bill and his staff. I think the 4-letter word that comes to mind for them, they care. Care. They really care about the health of your animals, whether you got an itty-bitty kitty cat or a big dog or a little puppy or a whole herd of dairy cattle. They care, and they want you to have healthy animals. I urge you, if there's a problem, to call them at 678-1177. That number again, 678-1177, Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn, and they will help you and your pets and your livestock stay healthy. Please give them a call, 678-1177, Ark Animal Hospital in Heyburn. Really nice people. Hey, don't forget our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, and they have teamed up on home comfort systems with the iComfort Wi-Fi thermostat from Lennox, and it features remote control access so you can adjust your home's temperature from anywhere, any place. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox offering up to $1,600 in rebates on a new system. Call them today. Don't put it off. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Bell. I watched about 10 minutes of that debacle they call a debate. I don't even know why they bother having those. They don't get anything accomplished. They don't tell us what they're going to do if, by some godforsaken chance, they get put into office. We know what they're going to do. They can't answer a question. They beat around the bush. What oxymoron would vote for something like that?
Well, Donna, what you're saying is absolutely the truth. There was nothing solved or settled last night. Nothing at all.
No.
And with 12 absolutely destitute of any moral value Democrats standing up there behind podiums, many of which were just nothing more than decorations on the set because they were hardly asked anything last night, and some only a combined total of maybe a 90 to 95 second response total, it was ridiculous to have them on stage. Now, that being said, there were a lot of the front runners, supposedly, whether it's Bernie Sanders, whether it's Elizabeth Warren, or whether it is Joe Biden, whomever, they were asked a lot of questions, and they were asked in many instances to give a yes or no answer, and I'll bet you $1,000 you never heard a yes or no answer last night.
No, that's what I mean. They beat around the bush. They don't answer a question. They're not running on anything except for getting Trump out of office.
Bingo. That's very astute and very correct. Let me just tell you something. I mentioned earlier, and I dare anybody to prove me wrong on this. There was no mention of China. I am absolutely afraid of China. I am. I'm afraid of their influence. I'm afraid of their power. I'm afraid of all their population. I am afraid of their taking over our economy. I'm afraid of taking over literally the world and their suppression of freedom like what's happening in Hong Kong. There was no mention of China last night. There was no mention of trade with foreign countries. There was no mention of immigration. They skirted the issues the American public wants to know about.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And like I said, if we're not careful, we could be looking at socialism in this country.
Oh, I'll tell you what, you are spot on. I just hope and pray, and Deanna and I were talking about this last night. It's easy to sit there and say, oh, Trump's going to get elected, it's going to be a landslide, nothing to worry about. Baloney. That's foolish thinking, and it's stupid thinking because it's going to create maybe a lackadaisical attitude of where people won't go to the polls and vote. I'm very concerned, like you are, that if we get any of these, watch your mouth, Zeb, any of these people in as a president representing the Democratic Party, the America as we know it is gone.
No, I totally agree. That's what I said. We have got to get people to get out and vote and make sure that we still have the freedoms that our forefathers have fought and died for, and our men and women in the service are fighting and dying for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's one other aspect of this, and we better be calling our elected officials and telling them to shape up and fly right, or we're going to get rid of them too.
Oh, I'm right there with you. Our state and local governments are just as bad as in Washington.
Yeah, I don't count.
I'm not going to say all of them. There are some good guys and good women in there, but for the most part, they just sit there, draw their paycheck, and they really don't give a hoot and where about the constituents that put them in the office.
Amen, Donna. Thank you so much, and I know we had to speak softly because George is still sleeping, but that's okay. Thank you.
You betcha. You have a great day, my friend.
All right. Thank you much. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't go away. I want to remind everybody about Dino's Septic Service. Oh, my. Yeah, Dino's Septic Service. A lot of people say, well, who are we going to call? The septic tank needs pumping. Or, oh, we got a mess with our sewer and sink drain lines. They're all clogged up. The answer is so simple. Dino's Septic Service is there to help you. All you've got to do, it's so simple. Pick up the phone, call 436-6526 or 678-1638. Dino's Septic Service, they've expanded their business to better serve more people. And, boy, you talk about fast fare friendly service. They get the job done for you with that big truck that will pull in the yard that says smells cargo on the way. I love that. Dino's Septic Service, absolutely the best. You call them today. Want to remind you, too, on Mondays, we give away a dozen cookies to Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 East Street in Rupert, right there on the square. What a bakery. What a restaurant. 8:30 on Mondays, we give away a trivia question. Give a trivia question to you to answer for the dozen cookies from Sophie's Chatterbox. Don't forget that. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Thanks for your patience.
Anytime, my friend. I read the other day, and it really rings true, is when you complain about problems, things that are going on without offering a solution, it's called whining.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's other terms, but we're on the radio.
Well, like you and Donna before me, you got to watch your mouth on the air.
Doug, it really, when you think about what you just said, it was the Hillary Bradsby baseball bat that hit the ball out of the park. There was nothing last night, nothing, and I dare you to tell me I'm wrong, that defined how, in the case of like Medicare for All, how they're going to come up with $32 trillion with a T dollars, $32 trillion to pay for Medicare for all. How? It was all glossed over. Well, we're going to raise the tax on the rich. Okay, but that doesn't solve the problem.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't pay for anything. And I can't remember who it was said on the debate was, when you promise everything without showing how you're going to pay for it. It's a pipe dream.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Amy Klobuchar made that statement last night. And I just really don't understand. The Democrats last night, as far as I'm concerned, there was not one single person standing up there on that stage that was even electable as a town councilman, let alone a president of the United States. And I want to say this and get it out there. Mentally and verbally, last night, Joe Biden made too many oops, way too many oops. He made statements that made no common sense, like clip coupons from the stock market. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear that one.
Yeah. He absolutely acted like all of a sudden the mouth is running, but somebody forgot to push the clutch in and engage the brain.
Well, I do that once in a while myself.
Well, yeah, but this is becoming a habit with Joe Biden, and honestly, I think the man is slipping severely with mental capacities, and I'm not being derogatory, I'm being honest. You can see when his eyes start looking around the room rapidly, his body language, he's trying to search for a phrase or a word, and last night when he said this, people are clipping the coupons from the stock market, my wife and I looked at each other like, what?
Well, I didn't know you could use coupons on the stock market.
It's a new one on me. I'm going to call my broker today after the program and ask him where my coupons are.
Yeah. Say, where do I get these coupons for the stock market?
No kidding. Like you said, anybody can make a mistake, but he gets lost in the muddle. He does, and nobody can argue with me on that.
No. And, and Bernie Sanders, I wish he get recovered from his heart attack, but I don't think he has the physical health to do the job as a president, which would make him, 85 years old after his first...
Oh, yeah, and let's just call a spade a spade. Bernie is nothing more than just taking up space at a podium, spouting and spewing his socialistic non-values, and then he was endorsed. This is what really gets me. He was endorsed by 4 women that I think are absolutely detestable, the squad, led by AOC. When there's an endorsement like that for somebody, that ought to give you all the clues you want to not only walk away, but run away.
Yeah, well, those 4 gals share one brain cell, and they keep passing it back and forth.
You're being way too generous.
And I feel, when you go into Congress, first you need to pass the civics test on anybody that's becoming a citizen of the United States.
I
agree.
agree.
You take that test, and if you can't pass it, you can't run for Congress, Senate, or anything.
Totally agree. Yeah.
And also, you need to pass an IQ test to have at least almost 3 digits, or close to 3 digits anyway.
Holy cow, you just cleaned out the House and the Senate.
And I also feel, too, if you're in government, you need to make your tax returns public, because we need to know where you're getting your income from and why.
Are you about ready to get run over by a train?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I think the Democrats are headed my way.
Okay. I got to run, Doug. Thanks.
That's the Trump train. Everybody else is getting out of his way.
I can hear the train. Hey, God bless you, man. Thank you so much.
Hey, everybody, let's do what we can for our senior centers. Go eat lunch there today and have some yummy food and some intelligent insight in how America was.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, old buddy. Thanks. I want to remind everybody about Barry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts. I've said this so many times that they've got all the equipment, from the heavy work to any kind of job you need there on your farm, ranch, your place, whatever, whether it's the lifting, the digging, the pushing, the carrying, the grading, the leveling, whatever. They've got the equipment. I mean, you can just see the equipment. It's going to flex the muscle to get the job done. Absolutely. The Doosan wheel loaders and excavators, all the Bobcats, everything. And I'm telling you, folks, they've got great financing programs if you're purchasing, and super lease programs What are you waiting for? 3 locations to serve you. Barry Equipment and Rental at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Nampa location for Barry Equipment and Rental. Calls welcome 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Once again, I want to remind you about Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox as I knocked the microphone almost completely over. Great catch, Zeb. And they, of course, have teamed up with Lennox with the iComfort Wi-Fi thermostat from Lennox that features remote control access so you can adjust your home's temperature from anywhere. Check it out. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox offering up to $1,600 in rebates on a new system. Be comfy. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric, 678-0459. I have made this statement on this program many times. And if there's somebody that wants to argue or arbitrate with me, pick up the phone and call me. LeBron James, absolutely and very probably one of the greatest basketball players of all time. And absolutely has been blessed with the skills to make multi-millions because of his athleticism. I have not been very complimentary to LeBron James because I think he has used his podium from the basketball court to criticize, condemn, and damn others. He has been very racist and racial in a lot of his comments. He has denigrated the office of the presidency by calling President Trump a bum. And he has acted like he is, all of a sudden, because of his prowess on the court, the main man with superintelligence to lead the world. Well, he's not. LeBron James is nothing more than a high school graduate from St. Vincent, St. Mary in Akron, Ohio, that was drafted to go play professional basketball and did so with the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Miami Heat, and back to the Cavaliers and now to the Los Angeles Lakers. But he has turned himself into a critique of what's going on in politics. And what he said about Daryl Morey of the Houston Rockets absolutely led me to have more contempt for LeBron James, saying that Daryl Morey, with his support of Hong Kong and the freedom fighters in Hong Kong, was not really educated on the situation. At the same time, LeBron James is sitting there worrying about nothing more than the money and the change of currency from the Chinese to the basketball players to their teams and, of course, to the shoe companies like Nike. LeBron James is a farce. LeBron James is embarrassing. He is an excellent basketball player, and I will say this beyond a shadow of a doubt, very fun to watch on the court. But I have no respect for him whatsoever as a human being. Making statements against our country, making statements against our government, making statements against our Constitution and our president in honor of only one thing, and that's money in his pocket. I have no use for LeBron James. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What really gets me is the influence that man, LeBron James, has on our younger generation. They idolize him. They wear his jerseys. They imitate and emulate him. And he's nothing. He's nothing to be admired. LeBron James may be one of the wealthiest basketball players ever in the history of the game and or all sports. But he's nothing. Don't forget, this Saturday and Sunday, it's going to be a 2-day auction put on by the Bennett Boys Auction Service, the Milo and Lois Packer Estate Auction. It's going to be over in Hagerman, Idaho, at the Billingsley Creek State Park Arena. And it's going to be from the center of Hagerman, go north 1 mile, right off Highway 30. Look for the signs, and it starts at 10 o'clock on Saturday and 10:30 on Sunday. Lots and lots of farm items and antique glassware, furniture, shop tools, ATVs, sporting items. It's going to be a big sale 2 days this Saturday and Sunday. Milo and Lois Packer Estate Auction in Hagerman, managed by the Bennett Boys Auction Service. No sale too big, no sale too small. The Bennett Boys, they can sell them all. Well, we didn't have any LeBron James fans call, but if I hurt your feelings about LeBron James, that's okay. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There was a couple of other things that were said last night during that waste of time debate. And I want to get your opinion on this because it's a real infringement on free speech. But Kamala Harris made a comment last night that Twitter should disconnect and stop and cancel President Trump's Twitter feeds. What do you think about that? She doesn't like the influence that he has, and she even stated this, on over 56 million people. She didn't like that. The Democrats don't like that. Oh, well, then this must fall under the mantra of, well, if we don't like what you say, we're going to stop you. We're going to cut the cord. We're going to stop and pull the wire out of the wall. You can't have free speech. Somebody might hear you and agree with you. What are your thoughts about her coming out blatantly last night at that debate and saying that Twitter should take away President Trump's free speech rights? He's the President of the United States, but all over that, he's a citizen of this country. And they want to stop everything they can as far as the First Amendment. What are your thoughts? Come on, quickly give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There were so many things that were just Looney Tunes last night. But the number one thing that they did talk about a lot was Medicare for All. Folks, just really sit down and do your own detective work. Please. Think about Medicare for all. All. Okay? That doesn't say for citizens of the United States. It says for all. I mean, we are going to be seeing a resurgence of numbers. Frosty's talked about this. I've talked about it many, many times. We've had other guests on the program. We're going to be seeing a resurgence of numbers of refugees and more illegal aliens coming into this country, and Medicare for all that we're paying for. And they're hanging a price tag on this of $32 trillion. Astronomical numbers. And the Democrats, along with Medicare for All, saying, well, we've got to make sure that our students go to school and college and university for free. Free! Where is all this money going to come from? Somebody raised their hand in the back of the room. Thank you, you're right. Us. Medicare for All, broken down, is going to take at least $5,000 to $10,000 from everybody's household on a per annum basis. And you talk about getting slapped or kicked in the teeth with lower income standards. Woo, baby. And not only that, but Medicare for All. It's going to take away the quality of medicine. It's going to very, very likely curtail a lot of young people getting involved in medicine because they know that there's going to be limitations and ceilings on what they can make, what they can earn. It's going to destroy medical research. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand that Medicare for all is absolutely asinine. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. Medicare for all is just socialized medicine.
Yeah, but there's a caveat there. Socialized medicine, but you should have kept going further. It will end up being socialized medicine for the few, not the many, even though they're saying for all.
Yeah, I agree. And they're going to pick and choose who's going to survive it.
Yep.
And this is part of, conspiracy theorist that I am, this is part of their plan with all the abortion clinics and free abortion and pushing abortion. It is part of the control of population that they want to control. And then they're also going to use that for the elderly, pick and choose who can have what services. If you get a disastrous disease, cancer of some sort, they're going to pick and choose who's going to survive that.
Well, you know, I'm much older than you are, I'm sure, and I'm being very polite and gracious, by the way. But, you know, any impending problems that I have with my health, they might just say, well, wait a minute, we've got somebody here on the list that's only 47 years of age, much more productivity left. Hey, Zeb, go find a soft spot under that tree and just pass away, would you?
Exactly. Yep, I really do believe that that's coming, and that's going to be part of this quote-unquote Medicare or social medicine for all.
Yeah, but
they make it soft-pedaled by saying Medicare instead of saying this is socialized medicine.
Yeah. There's another caveat to this, though. Caller number 2, stay there. I'll be right there. But, Sharon, there's another caveat to this that is not really thought of. And if you think you've got an immigration problem illegally now in this country, just think of the masses coming in here, and automatically, if this idiocy is passed, whether we get 100,000 from this country or 50,000 from that country or the refugees coming in, we automatically have to pay for that Medicare for all for them. And pretty soon the system is absolutely broke.
Yeah, not only the system, but all of us.
Yep.
And we will be worse than Venezuela.
Absolutely.
Worse than some of these other third world countries.
Absolutely.
You think that they're scavenging in garbage cans in other places? It's here too.
I'll tell you what, the garbage cans in the back of my place are mine. Leave them alone.
All righty then.
Thanks, Sharon. See you later. Thank you much.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye. Caller, I've got to get a weather in. I know that you can wait at least a minute. Hold on just a second. I want to remind everybody the weather brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and they're right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room. And a new number. Write this down. Doggone, don't forget to do it. It's important. 417-8799. That number again, 417-8799. Get a hearing screening today. If you're noticing a diminishment in your hearing, please don't put it off. Don't let it get worse. Please get a hold of them. They are wonderful people. At Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, 417-8799. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Today's the nicest day of the weekend, then we're going to be cooling off with precipitation for the weekend. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies for today. High of 74, slight breeze out of the east at about 6 miles an hour. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies with a low of about 44. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy. We are expecting a high of 58. Winds are going to be picking up out of the south at about 10 miles an hour. Winds could gust as high as 25 miles an hour. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy skies with a low of 35. By Friday, mostly sunny. High of 53. Winds out of the west at about 15. Gusts as high as 25 miles an hour. And by Saturday, rain showers all day long and a high of 50. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb Duran.
Thank you, Gina. And again, I urge you to please get a hold of Mount Harrison Audiology. And if you're having any hearing loss, they help me. They can help you. Yes, sir. Call the number 417-8799. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Caller, good morning, and thank you for your call.
They actually ended up hanging up, sir.
Oh, Wheels, you just lost your gold star for the day. You should have offered them maybe a ice cream sundae or a batch of chocolate chip cookies or something, and you let them slip away.
I know. I really should have came up with that idea.
I'm offended that you didn't keep them on the line like a great big 6-pound bass. Okay.
I won't argue with you on that.
All right, thanks, Wheels. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, there are very conceited, egotistical, and quite frankly, stupid people that have been involved in the media that are so one-sided and so much in love with themselves that when they turn the lights on and the cameras go on and start rolling, you can just see that they know that they are so much smarter than the rest of us. They've got their nose so high in the air that if it rains, they'll drown. And Sam Donaldson, formerly anchor of ABC News, is one of them. He is one of them. Sam Donaldson came out and said that Trump supporters want white Christian country back. But he said the GOP senators may flip their support of Donald Trump and convict him. He's planting another negativity seed. But you know, I was not exactly thrilled when I heard Donaldson say this. And say that Trump supporters want a white Christian country back. You know, it's pretty denigrating as far as what he thinks of us that enjoy the fruits of the labor of this Trump administration. And he just said that Americans, they want to return to an idealized Christian Caucasian vision of the country's past. I don't think I've ever voiced anything like that on my program. I've never said any of those caustic, racist remarks. And he goes on and argued that while much of Trump's base voters love his intense rhetoric, you know, the reason I like Donald Trump is that he's not beholden to anybody. He doesn't really like anybody. If somebody offends him, he lets them have it with both barrels, and I appreciate that. But for Sam Donaldson saying they want to return this country to the white Christian country that they believe it should be again, they don't want the diversity, and they follow him, Trump that is, for this method, but they're not for the country. Oh, really? I don't think anybody loves this country more than I do for what it has provided to me with a certain amount of effort that I put forth to attain what I have today. I wouldn't have got it in any other country. And I'm a little bit sick and tired of always having the race tag thrown at us and or me and you. Oh, they just want to return this country to the white Christian country they believe it should be again. Really, that's not bad. All races should live here in harmony. I don't care black, brown, I don't care who. But to segregate us and say they want to return it to a white Christian country, that's asinine. And the first three letters of that word asinine fit Sam Donaldson. Let's see. Oh, by the way, I want to remind you there's a great big fall tire sale going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. They've been doing the right thing since 1952. Absolutely. Right now with this big fall tire sale, they've got all the tire tread designs, they've got all the sizes, and they can help all the vehicles, of course, the cars, pickups, SUVs, camp trailers, horse trailers, whatever. Boy, before you go hunting, make sure you got a good set of rubber on that old pick-em-up truck. And along with this, the best in brake service and front-end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries. And I keep telling you, you better have your battery checked because there's nothing worse or more of a real low pit in the stomach feeling like when you turn the key up on the mountain you're hunting and it goes click, 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 click. Battery's dead. Make sure you've got the best. Stop in and see the best. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley. Yep, the best. Your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. The best. What have we not covered this morning? Really hammered LeBron James. He had it coming. He's absolutely not worthy of listening to. We have hammered Sam Donaldson, a former ABC anchor. He's about as worthless as a smelly sweat sock. And we talked about Kamala Harris wanting to take away Donald Trump's Twitter account. Oh, my goodness. All kinds of fun and excitement this morning. But the Democrats, now we get a quick call. I've only got 30 seconds left. Caller fast, or I'm going to have to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, you know what? I'll wait and call back later because I can't be fast.
All right. God bless you.
I have a couple of ashes on my brain now. I've got to clear them up.
Okay, God bless you. Thank you so much for your call. Have a good day. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I can't be fast. I can't be either. I've got one speed, slow. Actually, I'm very deceiving with my speed. I'm slower than most people think. Got to run to the news. I'll be back in 7. Oh, boy, is this going to be a nice day today. Everybody get the sunscreen, play hooky from work, and go out and just bask in the sunshine. Going to be a fantastic day. Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by, of course, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with a big fall tire sale going on right now. And don't forget, too, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And also Greystone Crossing, independent senior living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. And here's another one of our fine advertisers. Wheels, let's have Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
You know, I get on here every day and talk about Western Waste and about the dumpsters in various sizes and the route service, but you know, they really are always at your disposal. And if you do need a dumpster, you're doing some fall cleaning, the garage and the basement or the shop, or like in my case, the office, instead of one dumpster, I'll probably need 37. Call for a dumpster, they'll drop it off, you fill it up, they'll come and get it. All of this at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call the number 734-6969. Want to also urge you to remember to call our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric, along with Lennox, and they've teamed up with the iComfort Wi-Fi thermostat from Lennox that features remote control access so you can adjust your home's temperature from anywhere. Yep, all you got to do is just give them a call. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox now offering up to $1,600 in rebates on a new home comfort system, and the number to call, Ramsey Heating and Electric, 678-0459. One last good word before we go to our guest this morning, and I want to urge everybody to remember Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. My, oh my, Nick Greenwell and all the staff of excellent physical therapists. They know their business, they know the exercises, and they can help you with all your aching and paining. Get back to being you. You, absolutely. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. So easy to get an appointment. Just call them, 678-1191. I'll repeat, 678-1191. The best, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Right now on the program, and we've had this gentleman on the air about 5-6 months ago, and looking forward to hearing from him again, the #1 Amazon author in the US of A, and here he is, Josh Tolley. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good
Good morning, Zeb. Great to be back with you. I'm doing great, playing hooky from work today.
You took my advice. Good. I'll be over. You buy the six-pack, and I'll bring the sunshade.
Yeah, it's just amazing. You know, one of the things I love about your show is how much love you show your sponsors. And as somebody who talks about entrepreneurship, that is just such a delight when I hear you just promote those local small businesses. Love it.
You know, and Josh, really, they are the backbone of our entire American society. I think you'll agree.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I find it surprising sometimes, especially coming into election years and politically hot-button sort of issues, we focus so much on national politics, national companies. But it's that small mom-and-pop, locally owned business that really makes this country run. And when you look at the large multinational, companies, the 4 million shareholder plus, where nobody is actually an owner of that company, you see the complete opposite, where they bow down to political pressure. And what you're doing is allowing for the American people to have a voice, but it only happens if the people who are listening support the sponsors that are willing to get it out there. So the next time you're thinking, hey, I'm just going to go on Amazon because it's free Prime shipping, say, no, wait a second, Amazon's spending money to destroy me. Let me instead choose one of those wonderful sponsors I heard on Zeb's show.
I appreciate that. And, boy, I mean, if I had the ability to put a quarter in the slot and pass it down the phone line to you, I would. Thank you. That's very, very well stated. Tell me a little bit about you. You know, your bio is intriguing to me, and I'll tell you why. Because all my life I've been connected to a microphone, whether it's announcing professional rodeos all over the United States and Canada, or having the microphone at various events at the Olympics or over in Spain, etc. But you really are involved in a lot of different things. Tell us a little bit about Josh Tolley.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. So I became an entrepreneur in middle school, had my first legal business 3 days after high school, and I never looked back. I knew that entrepreneurship was the only way to empower my family. It's kind of interesting. When I graduated reading at a 7-year-old level, so I was functionally illiterate, and I was so shy that I couldn't order a hamburger from McDonald's, seriously. But I knew that entrepreneurship was the only way to make it, because one of the things I did when teaching myself how to read was I would read magazines, because they're written at a 6th grade level. And I was reading the Forbes 400, so these are the 400 wealthiest people in the country, and I noticed a common trait in all of them. None of them had a job. And just this logical click just happened in my mind that said, wait a second, if there's 250 million people at the time all doing this go to school, go to college, get a job thing, how come none of them have lucked out and made it on this list? And it was never my goal to be on the list, but it definitely was a litmus test to what worked and didn't work. And I noticed all of them were entrepreneurs. So I said, okay, well, then that's the way I have to go. And then when I was 20, about 20 to 21, I started helping families start and run businesses, and it just took off. And I noticed families being changed, marriages being healed, parents-children relationships being mended. And since then, I've just kind of dedicated myself to entrepreneurship, and I own a number of companies myself, and I own a company that helps other people start, run, fix, and grow businesses.
Let me ask you this, Josh. I mean, I'm very impressed with you. I'm very impressed with your past and your resume. But I want to talk to you about the now, today. Are you seeing in entrepreneurship, business ownership, startups, mom and dad operations, whatever, are you seeing a lessening or an increasing since Donald Trump kind of reinvigorated the attitude in America?
Well, it's interesting. Initially, I think it would have been a reinvigorated. And I talk to probably over 100,000 entrepreneurs a year. So I really kind of have my thumb on the pulse here. But I would say initially reinvigorated. Lately, say the past 5-6 months, I think that the mainstream media has done a great job at making people panic about words like recession and impeachment, that everybody is starting to say, whoa, 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 let's just pause here, figure out what's going to happen before I move forward with excitement. But the important thing to remember is entrepreneurship always works. It works in bad times, good times, Democrat presidents, Republican presidents. I mean, even in China, you're seeing this. I mean, part of the reason why China spends more fighting domestic dissension than we do fighting terrorism is because once you let the seed of entrepreneurship in, it is a mighty oak that just breaks up everything else. So there's never a bad time to be an entrepreneur.
You know, let me ask you this part of it, and I could go on and on all morning on the program talking to you about this, but you just said the word recession and the negativity. The media today, and I don't care if it's MSNBC, CNN, ABC, people like former anchor of ABC, Sam Donaldson, all of these people seem convinced that the way to beat Donald Trump is not at the ballot box, but it is trying to get him impeached or create an aura of the sky is falling, Chicken Little, look out, with the recession. They're building on this just out of hatred on Donald Trump. Do you agree or disagree?
Absolutely agree, because they have nobody who can actually run against them. Whoever is going to vote for Elizabeth Warren really needs to go see somebody, because you have to be 7 flavors of crazy to think that that's a logical option. And then who else is on stage? Buttigieg and Sanders? I mean, you got to be crazy. So the only thing they have is, let's create panic, so they run away from what they have as opposed to run towards what we're offering. And that's just typical public manipulation 101. I mean, the Germans did that, China does that. So they're creating that panic to run away from what they have.
Yeah, but when you say that, the word and the phrase that you used, I want to elaborate on that a little bit. They're creating the panic. Okay, I know they are, and I scoff at it, and I put it under my boot heels and kind of rub it in the carpet. But there's a lot of people that are accepting it, the millennials, the younger generation, and those that are bent towards socialism. How bad is this right now that we need to worry about?
Well, I'm glad you brought this bent toward socialism, because not only does over half of the Democrat Party support socialism, but 14 to 16% of polled Republicans now support socialism. So that is growing, and the reason it's growing, and this is going to sound like we're just circling back to what we talked about before, but the reason it's growing is because we got away from an entrepreneurship-based economy. We are now an employee-based economy. Most people are not entrepreneurs anymore. And when that happens, of course you want some form of socialism, whether you call it the National Socialist Workers Party, a.k.a. the Nazis, or Democrat socialism, a.k.a. what AOC is trying to spew out. But there's just a natural tendency to say, well, if we're going to be an employee-based economy, somebody has to make it, and I'm using air quotes, fair. So socialism has a natural tendency to grow when entrepreneurship leaves. But at the end of the day, we then have to say, well, who's to blame for that? And honestly, it's us. We're the ones that let go. 30 years ago, Bernie Sanders would have been laughed off the stage and only had a small mayorship in Vermont. Today, I go to churches, and when I speak in churches, I'll have millennials get up at the end and say, Josh, can you explain to my mom and dad why Jesus was a socialist? And I'm not kidding.
Oh, my.
So we have to get back to this place where we say, hey, you know what? I would rather be the captain of my own rowboat than first mate on a cruise ship and become entrepreneurs again.
You know, Josh, last night, and I don't want to get too far off the track here today and derail the train, but last night watching that debate, I mean, it was Russia, Putin, of course, impeach Trump, on and on. There was never a mention in 3 hours last night about the real wicked dude in the room, and that's China. The country that wants to take over like a cancer the entire world and rule it with an iron hand. The Democrats totally avoided talking about China last night.
Yeah, not one question, but they did make sure they asked about Ellen DeGeneres' relationship with George Bush. So
yeah.
Somehow that's of national importance. It's just sick and twisted. And when you look at China, there's the people of China, there's tons of great people. But the government of China, you're right, their stated goal is to take over the world. And I feel like, you know, are we Chamberlain saying, oh, well, certainly Hitler's just, you know, blowing hot air here? And I'm not saying they're going to do it militarily, but if you travel the world, you will see their footprints everywhere. Africa, we just got back from Panama, Chile. You can see China gobbling up stuff, and they do it through currency manipulation and then loans based on poverty. And then when the people can't pay the loans, they by default get the land, and it's destroying places already And to think that that's not coming here, I mean, it's funny. People like, Buttigieg and Warren and Sanders were talking about how evil China was just 3.5 years ago when Barack Obama said somebody has to do something. Now, we're not talking about China, and instead Russia, Russia, Russia.
Why is it that people like LeBron James, that has the IQ of only a graduating senior from a high school, all of a sudden has been elevated as to where he is the brain trust, not only for the NBA, but a spokesman for all of us in condemnation of anybody that would speak out in favor of the freedom fighters in Hong Kong. We have a misplaced value system in this country, and it all goes back to money, money, money. We are destroying patriotism, mocking a president, calling him a bum, all of that because Nike, with their big shoe contracts and the money in China, that's where we worship today. Money and China.
Well, and it's because of what I was saying earlier. We've gotten rid of entrepreneurship. And people might say, well, that's not even related, but it is, and I can prove it. In the Muslim community, and hats off to them, right? They're doing it, right? But in the Muslim community, a dollar will go 14 to 16 transactions in that community before it leaves into the general American population. In the Jewish community, it's 10 to 12. In the typical American Christian flag in the yard, it's 0. 0 times do we put our money where our mouth is. We instead say, oh, man, I have to have the latest Nikes. Oh, man, I have to have Amazon Prime. Oh, man, I got to go to Walmart. They're having a 20% off sale. Well, the Muslim says, hey, I'm not going to Walmart. If my cousin is 20% higher, I'm buying it there because money is a weapon, and it's only used through entrepreneurship. And China knows that. And we don't. We're giving it up. Instead, we are embracing celebrity fame and fortune and socialism as opposed to honoring the mom-and-pop hardware store owner down the street and saying that's what promotes American freedom.
You know, this talk of impeachment every day, 24/7, I know for a fact that it's bothered many of my close associates, many of my neighbors, etc. Pardon me? Are you there? Hello, can you hear me? Are you there, Josh? Can you hear me now? Wheels, what happened over there at the station? Turn both of us up. I don't know what happened or what switch got cut.
I'm not really sure. But
just to make sure, is he on the air? Check with him, please. Evidently, we lost the connection there, and hopefully we can get him back on the air. And we're talking to Josh Tolley, and hopefully we can reestablish that line. While I'm waiting, I want to remind you, too, about Hanson Mortuary, and they're located at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Don't forget the telephone number to call, 436-5636. Joel Heward, the manager, staff, and, of course, his entire family, all serving you and your family at Hanson Mortuary, where they provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort, and always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. I urge you to remember the number, 436-5636, Hanson Mortuary in Rupert with Joel Heward, and he's also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. I hope we've got it reestablished, and do we have Josh Tolley back on the phone?
Yes, sir, we do.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Wheels. Thank you. I don't know what happens. Sometimes the phone gremlins cut us out, Josh. I apologize for that. I was just starting to ask you about this impeachment 24/7. It's making people nervous. It's making people literally sick. They're worried about it. All the talk is negativity about this administration and going up to the 2020 elections. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are, unfortunately, people are emotionally motivated as opposed to logically sound these days. So it's going to get a lot of attention, and it's going to make a lot of waves. And unfortunately, we're seeing that even amongst Trump supporters, that wall is starting to crack. But what I would urge people to really do is say, why are they doing it? And are they offering you something better? And don't focus on, here's the crazy thing, don't focus on the Ukraine call, because again, and like the president said, something like 32-odd people listen to these calls. It's not like he's having some sort of cloak and dagger in the parking lot meeting with the president of Ukraine. Everybody and their brother was listening to this call. What they don't want you to talk about is what Joe Biden and Hunter Biden were actually doing. Why, what's his name? Romney's son is also on the board in the Ukraine. Why, I think even Pelosi has a family member on the board in Ukraine. That's what they don't want you talking about. Instead, they want you to talk about, oh my gosh, somebody asked about it, and that should be the crime.
Absolutely.
The crime should be, what are you all doing over there? And why are you not in jail yet?
Absolutely. We have a caller with a comment. Quickly, caller, you're on the air. I have 4 minutes left in this segment. Go ahead.
Yes, in reference with supporting our local mom and pop shops and keeping the money in the area. I personally try to do what I can for that. However, it seems like these big corporations such as Walmart and what have you tried to bring the prices that people can afford, but also when they did that, they drove out the mom and pop shops. Inadvertently or advertently, it doesn't matter. There's fewer and fewer every year, and I'll let you go.
Would you respond to the caller, please, Josh?
Oh, yeah, he's absolutely right. And Amazon has even done that in the virtual space, too. They'll lower their prices. I believe it was a diaper company. They lower their prices so low that the biggest online diaper company couldn't compete, so then the company is either offered to get a buyout or go bankrupt, and then Amazon raises their prices again. And what you'll find is Walmart is only cheaper than mom and pop 33% of the time. That's it.
Yeah.
But what they do is they pick items that they know you're looking at. And that's what you're judging the 33% of the time on. So, for example, they might have a sale on grapes, and you're like, oh, mom and pop is 30% higher. And then you're there buying the grapes, but while you're also there, you're buying 4 or 5 other things that are way more expensive than mom and pop. And they know that. And they know that if they can drive them out, they can. But that's really indicative of the cause, because that is just an effect. The cause is that we're not keeping up with wages, and the reason we're not keeping up with wages is because we've given up that mom and pop. And what communities are going to have to start doing, and I'm seeing this in Idaho actually, is saying, hey, you know what? We are not going to buy it, even if it is 20 to 30% more expensive. I'm going to mom and pop. Why? Because mom and pop pays 20 to 30% higher wages than Walmart does too. So it's not just a what does it cost me on the cash register. We have to start asking what does it cost me on income. Because your per capita spending dollar was higher when we spent more on mom and pop. As we spend more on Walmart, even our good jobs are getting paid less based on inflation against 10-year average.
Josh, if you were to wrap this program up with maybe a short paragraph of what you would like my audience to remember about optimism, entrepreneurship, whatever it might be, what would you say to my audience to wrap this up this morning?
I would say there's always opportunities for entrepreneurs, and go to purplemonkeygarage.com and we can help you do it.
You know, I certainly hope you'll consent to coming back on the program. I find you to be really an inspirational, enlightening guest. Josh Tolley, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a blessed day.
All right, sir. Thank you. Josh Tolley, and I'll have him back. I enjoy him. Uplifting. I like positive, and he is positive. I appreciate that. Right now, I've got to be positive about another group, and that's Gano Landscaping. Hello, Scott Gano, and all the folks that work with him. You know, we have had Scott over here for a long, long time doing our work, and I'll tell you what, he's right now really, really busy pruning trees and trimming trees, fruit trees, ornamental trees, shade trees, large, dangerous trees. Say that fast 5 times. Large, dangerous trees. There you go. And stump removal. All of this. And I urge you that if you've got a couple of branches that all of a sudden look kind of ominous out the big picture window, look out when it's winter time with the high winds, the snow and everything. Better get that trimmed. Okay? Give them a call. Number 438-2485 or 431-8733. Gano Landscaping and Tree Service. Absolutely. 336 South, 450 West of Falls. Scott Gano Landscaping. Also, you know what's going on over at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More? I can't wait to tell you. They are having a big fall clearance, and I've got the paper right here in my hot little hand. They're having window coverings 40% off, the patterned roller shade, double cell honeycomb, wood horizontal shutters, all of this and more. And they're also having a big mattress closeout. You need a new mattress? Well, I'll tell you what, they've got them at prices up to 60% off. Like the Innerspring Queen mattresses starting at just $199. And the premium Beauty Rest mattresses starting at just $7.99. All of this, no money down, no interest for 12 months on approved credit. Ask about it, stop in, talk to them about it. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see Jeff and the whole crew today. Really good folks. And I always segue right at this juncture and say, in conclusion, before we go any further, in conclusion, I should say, in addition to good folks, I want to talk a little bit about Let's Ride. Oh, my goodness sakes. You better look at this day. Look at this day with no clouds in the sky, sunshine, and the leaves and the colors. Oh, get out on a four-wheeler or a side-by-side that you've got right from our friends at Let's Ride. Highway 24 in Rupert, 270 Highway 24 to be exact. All you need to do is stop over there. They've got a showroom full of fun. Like I said, all the side-by-sides, all the four-wheelers, they've got the new 2020 models coming in, and that means you can save a lot of money on the closeout of the 2019 models. All of this, all the accessories, and a super service department to keep you running. Ah, yes, Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the world, where the fun is sold. Let's go to the phone line right now, and I'm really anxious to talk to this gentleman because he's an inspiration. Filmmaker, a Christian filmmaker, and of the series called The Chosen. And we say good morning to Dallas Jenkins. Sir, how are you?
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me on.
No, it's my pleasure, and I salute you right up off the get-go. And I want to say thank you for sticking the oar in the water from your boat that is going to highlight Christian films and a Christian attitude. Thank you very much for putting that to the forefront.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's been quite a ride over this last year and a half. It's been both with the content we're providing, but also with how the audience has responded. So I think there's a lot of change happening in media.
You know, let's talk about that aspect of it, because every single day, very unfortunately, we're hearing negativity against Christians, we're hearing negativity about God, we're hearing negativity about the Bible. Some have even started to address the Bible as hate speech. But you said, no way, I'm not going to succumb to this. I'm going to put Christianity and good, wholesome family films to the forefront. Tell us all about it, please.
Well, The Chosen is a multi-season show about the life of Christ. So there's been movies and there's been mini-series about Jesus. There's never actually been a show that is like other shows where you can binge watch it or you can watch it over the course of several years and really dig into the characters and really dig into the stories with the kind of depth that you could only do in a show like that. It was all birthed out of actually a career failure of mine. I had done a movie with some big Hollywood producers a couple of years ago, and it was a faith-based movie, but it didn't do well at the box office. And God used that opportunity to kind of humble me, and, well, not kind of, to humble me for sure. And I was in this place where I really didn't know what was next. I didn't know if I had a future, and I poured myself into a short film about the birth of Christ from the perspective of the shepherds. And all I did, I did it for my church's Christmas Eve service. That was the only intention of it. And very long story short, that short film about the birth of Christ from the perspective of the shepherds, giving the Bible stories we know from a different perspective, ended up going viral on social media and was used as a tool to crowdfund a multi-season show about the life of Christ. And we've now shot the first season. And the cool thing about this was I didn't think it was going to work. I think crowdfunding normally doesn't work. It's usually for small projects. And we ended up shattering the all-time media crowdfunding record and raised over $10 million from over 19,000 people around the world, which, as I was saying earlier, not only is a testament to what this show can be, but it's a testament to what the audience wants. And those people were so hungry for new content that I think by bypassing Hollywood, we just kind of went directly to the brim to be proven to work.
Let me ask you about that, and I'm going to kind of shotgun my questions a little bit here, if you would. Dallas, what about Hollywood? Did you run into a lot of repercussions against you from Hollywood? Were they the naysayers? Did they run you down, put you down, that type of attitude? What about Hollywood as it is today?
Well, it depends. I mean, I was someone who I didn't really care what Hollywood thought, and much to it may surprise some of us to know this, but Hollywood isn't all the same. So yes, the vast majority of Hollywood had no room or place for someone like myself or the kind of films or projects that I was trying to do. But there were a few who tried. There were a few who are interested in the money-making aspect of it. And they recognized there were some of the biggest producers in Hollywood pursued me for a bit because of the fact that faith-based films were doing well. My film ended up not doing well, and so as I think I would expect them to do, they then backed away and went back to what they were doing best. So I'm just someone who, yes, it's true that Hollywood has a bias against Christians, a bias against conservatives. That's undeniably true. I personally, though, didn't take the time to get bullied or rejected just because I never really cared for their acceptance all that much because I didn't expect much. So The Chosen is kind of birthed out of that of going, why even try desperately to please a group of people who aren't necessarily going to approve of you anyway? And why not live, and do my projects for God and for the audience that I'm trying to reach? And so I just decided to bypass it altogether with this project, The Chosen.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this, Dallas. Was it hard, or is a better word, difficult, to find the actors to do this series?
Well, that's what's been so cool. That's actually been one of the easiest parts. The problem with a lot of faith-based projects getting actors isn't always necessarily the fact that it's faith-based. It's sometimes these projects and scripts just aren't as good as they should be. And I'm speaking. I mean, I'm not criticizing others. I'm putting myself in that category as well. This project, The Chosen, we got actors eager to do this because the scripts just were so good. My co-writers just delivered fantastic product, and I feel like I don't know. There's something special about this project, and we've had actors who have come on board whose lives have been impacted just by playing these characters. And I think that doing these scenes that we've been doing with Jesus and portraying these famous heroes of the faith, like Simon Peter and Matthew the tax collector, who became one of the great disciples, Nicodemus, Mary Magdalene, Jesus, of course. These are all-time iconic, epic characters, and when you write them in a way that isn't stiff and formal like a lot of Bible projects, and you write them as human beings, the scriptures give you so much great material to work with. And then we've been, of course, adding historical and cultural context. There is so much more to these people than what we just sometimes see on Flanograph or in a quick Bible lesson. When you dig even deeper and you find out what their lives were like and who their relationships were with and all that, it really is incredible. And the scriptures, I like to say, the scriptures don't spend a ton of time on each of these people, but God did, and Jesus did, and that's what this show does as well.
I've got to ask you something, Dallas, and I might sound a little naive on this, the way it's presented to you, but bear with me. When you talk about creating a television series or a movie even of biblical history, and you're going to do like you did in the life of Christ, it's got to be difficult for the writers to put it in a perspective of here's the Bible, here's what the Bible says, and then developing character personalities of the people, like Simon Peter you mentioned, Jesus himself. I mean, that's got to be a little tough on the writers to try to develop that personality that the audience can relate to.
Difficult if you come at it from the perspective of we can't say anything that's not in Scripture or else we'll fail or else we'll offend the audience. We just decided there's been lots of Bible movies that have just followed the Scriptures verse by verse, word by word, and that's great. We have nothing against that. Of course, it's important. I think we need that. We're saying we believe in the Bible. I love the Bible. I'm not adding anything to the Bible, and this show is not the Bible. It's not a replacement for the Gospels. It's based on the Bible and history. And so when we come at it from that perspective, it actually became really easy, because when you look in Scriptures and you see the little things that they had about Simon, the little things that they had about Matthew, you can start to extrapolate about the personality. So just to use a quick example, there's Simon Peter. Anyone who's read the Gospels knows Simon Peter was a very temperamental, kind of up and down kind of personality. Well, then when you extrapolate that, you think, all right, well, we know he had a wife, because we know he had a mother-in-law, because Jesus healed her. So what was he been like at home? What was his marriage like? And so the challenging part just becomes in making sure that we are presenting things that are plausible and not at all scripturally contradictory. So but I think our audience, especially those who've seen the show, have all of their fears have gone away, because it's coming from someone in myself who genuinely loves the Word of God and wants it to be exalted. And so I think that they say, you know what, even in these bits in the show that aren't directly out of Scripture, it feels like it's out of Scripture, because it's clearly written by someone who's not trying to upset the apple cart or change anything in Scripture, unlike some of the Bible projects we've seen in the last few years, where they were directed or written by someone who was trying to say something new.
Yeah.
We're not trying to say anything new. We're trying to take what's already been said and show it from a new perspective.
Okay, now I want to ask you about the picking and choosing. Now, you said that you started, and please correct me if I'm wrong on my assumption, with the birth of Christ. And then where did you go? What chapters of the Bible did you delve into for the series The Chosen?
Yeah, so the short film about the birth of Christ, that was a separate thing. Now, we used that as the tool to raise awareness and ultimately financing for the show. But the show begins, episode 1 of The Chosen begins where we introduce you to Matthew, Simon Peter, Mary Magdalene, and Nicodemus before they've encountered Christ. So we take these stories from the Gospels, work our way backwards. So we know that Mary Magdalene, when we first encounter her in the Gospels, she's introduced as someone who had demons cast out of her. So knowing that, we worked our way backwards and portrayed what her life would have been like as a demon-possessed woman with so many challenges. And same with Simon Peter. He was a fisherman. He was oppressed by the Romans with taxes, heavy taxes. And we also opined that perhaps Matthew was his tax collector. That was a plausible opportunity. They lived in the same region. And so we were introducing you to what these characters were like. Someone like Matthew, the tax collector, who would have been hated by the Jews for being a betrayer of their people, disrespected by the Romans for being Jewish. So we introduce you to those characters, which allows the audience to relate to them. And we believe that if you can see Jesus through the eyes of those who actually met him, you can be changed and impacted in the same way they were. So we start basically, I would say we start with almost like what we call an origin story, where you meet these people about a week before they encounter Christ. And so then when Christ does come into the picture at the end of episode 1, it's that much more powerful.
I'm intrigued because one of the characters, if you will, pardon the terminology, of the Bible that is the most intriguing for me with the transition and his life afterwards is Paul. Have you done a set on Paul?
Well, Paul doesn't come into the picture until a little later, so we're starting with, we're just into season 1. So the first 4 episodes are out now. You can watch for episodes 1 through 4 now. Episodes 5 through 8 come out in a month.
Oh, my.
And here's the beauty, and I think this is what's interesting about your question. Here's the beauty of a multi-season show. We've got time to develop all these characters and all these stories. And unlike a movie or miniseries where sometimes you're rushed to kind of get to from each verse to verse, we're going to be doing this over 6, 7, 8 years. So if this show is successful, which so far it's been proving to be so, we're going to take our time with the gospel characters. And then I think it would be fantastic to, when we get past the story of Jesus and some of these disciples, to to kind of lead into the relationship and the aftermath of what happened next, where Peter and Paul started to, encounter each other, and some of these disciples moved on in their missions work. So right now we're focused on the Gospels, but yes, Paul is someone I've always loved and thought would make for an amazing show or movie.
Let me ask you this simply. I mean, I know my audience, and I know a lot of people are listening and want to know how they can view these episodes. Tell us about that, please.
So, again, again, we're doing this outside the system, and so not only was the financing outside the system, the distribution is outside the system. When someone distributes your show, like a Netflix or a TV network or a big studio, and they're putting up all the money, they control it. And so we've wanted to maintain the control ourselves. So we created an app. It's called The Chosen. You just go to the App Store, look up The Chosen, and you can be watching all 4 episodes free within minutes. It's no money, no cost, no difficulty. We also made it easy for you to cast the show from your phone to your television. So it's all very easy. It's all free. And some people might think, well, then how are you going to be able to do more, future seasons and episodes if you're just giving it away? Well, we found that once people see all 4 episodes, they love them so much they want to buy the DVDs to give away to others or to own themselves. The devotional book that we wrote, The Chosen 40 Days with Jesus, it's a devotional book that takes you even deeper into these stories. We've offered that as well. People have loved that. We just found that just getting people to watch it was worth it because people get so passionate about it. And the fact that we're not owned by any part of Hollywood has actually increased people's trust in us. So it's a new paradigm. It's a new way of doing things. It requires you to maybe sometimes watch it in a different way than you're used to. But it's worth it, and it's easy. We've made it as easy and free as possible because we really want this show to get out to the world.
I am so glad and fortunate to have you on this program this morning, and I want to say, Dallas Jenkins, thank you for not only being on the show, but also the production of these great, great shows called The Chosen. Thank you so much. I'm going to keep trying to watch them myself and tell my audience, and I wish you continued success in the future. God bless you, and I mean that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me on. God bless.
Thank you. Great. There's a man right there. There's the case right there that good, wholesome, family Christian films are wanted, needed, and really they're very profitable in today's day and age, even with all the secularism condemning Christianity and faith. Congratulations, Dallas Jenkins. Okay, now I'm going to get a weather forecast on here, and for the first time all week, I'm on time. Holy smokes. The weather brought to you this hour by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. I was over there yesterday and had a chance to shake hands and say hello to a lot of people, and they've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. Every day, they are the professionals helping you with tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, bookkeeping services, retirement planning, and so much more. They really are the professionals serving you, your business, and your family. I urge you to get a hold of them. They have 2 locations, 1710 Overland in Burley and 620 5th Street in Rupert. The name, Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Today's the nicest day of the weekend, then we're going to be cooling off with precipitation for the weekend. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies for today. High of 74, slight breeze out of the east at about 6 miles an hour. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies with a low of about 44. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy. We are expecting a high of 58. Winds are going to be picking up out of the south at about 10 miles an hour. Winds could gust as high as 25 miles an hour. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy skies with a low of 35. By Friday, mostly sunny. High of 53. Winds out of the west at about 15. Gusts as high as 25 miles an hour. And by Saturday, rain showers all day long and a high of 50. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zephyr Duran.
Gina, thank you. And, of course, brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. The best of accounting services for you. Absolutely. Offices in Burley and Rupert, you get a hold of them today. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Well, calls are welcome and appreciated. Give us a jingle on the landline. I've got a couple of birthdays I've got to acknowledge here, and I will not be on the program tomorrow. The lovely Sharon Wilmot, I got the name right, Sharon. Sharon will be filling in for me tomorrow, and I want to get these in. Gloria Strukin is having a birthday today. She is such a wonderful lady and has been a long-time lunch buncher, and it's her birthday today. Happy birthday, Gloria. And a lady that I've known her and her husband for many, many years, and that's Wanda Sievers. She's having a birthday tomorrow, and I won't be on the air tomorrow, but I wanted to wish her a happy birthday. Both those ladies, really, really nice people. Calls are welcome and appreciated, and while I'm waiting for your call, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox with their home comfort systems, and I urge you to check it out. Lennox has, of course, the iComfort Wi-Fi thermostat and for your home comfort systems that features a remote control access, so you can adjust your home's temperature from anywhere, anytime. Don't forget, find out more. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric along with Lennox, and they're offering up to $1,600 in rebates on a new system. Number to call, 678-0459, or go to the website, ramseysonline.com. Don't forget, Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. All right, where's my call? 436-2244. Excuse me, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline, if you would, please. I don't know if you heard about this or not, but the freshman Democrats known as the Squad, they are coming out to endorse, I think they're going to come out in full force today with this, endorsing Bernie Sanders as their possible presidential choice. We have New York Democratic Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democratic Minnesota Representative Ilhan Omar, Michigan Representative Rashida Tlaib, and they're all supposedly going to endorse Bernie Sanders, and that's going to be on Saturday. They supposedly are going to have the great big unveiling of their endorsement on Saturday, and that says a lot right there as to the caliber of campaign and beliefs of Bernie Sanders, that these women would endorse a socialist that is absolutely hell-bent on the destruction of capitalism and the values of our country. And none of these women, none of them have any moral value, I think, whatsoever. As you know, Rashida Tlaib really became prominent in a not very respectful fashion when she used a very vulgar term about our President Trump and his impeachment. And they've all said negative things about our country, our Constitution, and our way of life, and here they are as members of our United States House of Representatives. I can only pray, and I am, that they will be defeated by people trying to take that seat away from them next year. I hope and I pray we all should, because these are the kind of people we do not want involved in our American politics. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, quickly, I've got time. Give me a call. While I'm waiting, I want to remind you, too, about Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Now, here's another situation where I know these people, and I know they're so concerned about your protection, whether it's life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. They want to make sure that you are okay protected. So all you need to do is just pick up the phone and give them a call at 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Really good folks, dedicated and responsive to your needs. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. I wonder how many in the audience really sat there like I did last night and watched the full 3-hour debate. Yeah, I got to be honest with you. There were times that the real true Zeb wanted to turn on the baseball game. There were times the real true Zeb wanted to turn on the Cowboy Channel, but I stuck with this balderdash, and I just was amazed, like I said in the first hour, how in the world they could be so inept and so absolutely stupid in their remarks. Medicare for all, $32 trillion. The excusing of college and university debt. It's going to be free, free, free. We've got to give them all a free education. No personal responsibility whatsoever. And then the bulk of the conversations last night, impeach Trump. We've got to get rid of him. We've got to get rid of this very hateful, heinous administration. Donald Trump is evil. There wasn't a one of the 12 standing behind their podiums that I or my wife would feel at all secure as citizens and taxpayers of this country to have any one of them sitting in the Oval Office at a time of peace or a time of crisis. They are not worthy. I don't care who you pick. There was not one single person up there yesterday that showed the moxie or the brain power to solve or help create a solving of the world's problems. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, my question is, if they come up with impeach, because he's such a bad guy, why don't they take their time and effort and look into really what's going on? All the good he's done. I know it's because they're the Democrat left, but the point of the matter is our economy is a heck of a lot better than it was under Obama, by far, and we're growing stronger as a nation. So is it just because they want power again, or what is it? Want to get down to that?
No, that's absolutely it.
Instead of just what they assume.
Riley, that's it. No, you're right. You're spot on, young man. It's all power. It's all control. It's absolute ownership of this country. That's what they want. They do not want to relinquish it to anyone or any group or entity. Caller, quickly, I've got a minute left. You're on the air, please.
Well, there's been a lot of push for somebody else to run, and her name is Obama, and I don't know if she will. I'm hoping she won't. But as enamored as the society was over her husband, they seem to think she's some sort of something. Today's society, it's just, there is no substance to our leadership. It's just, whatever you want to call it. It scares me.
I don't know why Michelle Obama has any or possibly any support whatsoever or any accolades due to her. She hasn't done anything. She hasn't accomplished anything. They think she can walk on water, and that's because somebody walked ahead of her and told her where the rocks were. I absolutely can't imagine how the Democrats could be that much more stupid as to put somebody like Michelle Obama to the forefront that really is nothing more than a Democratic figurehead for a past administration, her husband's.
I know. The other day, a guy walked up to me, and he had a big, huge Black Widow on his pair of pliers out at a dairy. I put it inside of the biggest Black Widow I've ever seen. I put it inside of a clear drinking cup, soda cup, and it's still in there. You get my drift?
I do, and I've got to go to the news. I appreciate it, Randy. Take care. Thank you. Oh, we've got to run, and we'll be back in about 7 minutes. And excellent guest coming up this next hour. Don't miss it. Zeb at the Ranch. Wheels all yours. I don't know the name of that little piece of music, but that guy or lady that's playing that piano really knows how to tickle those ivories. I love that. Morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch, and we're back here for hour number 3, and, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, celebrating a great big fall tire sale. You better stop in and see them today. Along with Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And let's not forget our friends at Greystone Crossing, Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Absolutely. I want to remind you one more time about our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, featuring the iComfort Wi-Fi thermostat from Lennox, and that, of course, creates a remote control access so you can adjust your home's temperature from anywhere, any place. Find out more about it. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox offering up to $1,600 in rebates on a new system. Call them today, Ramsey Heating and Electric, at 678-0459. Really, really good folks. Oh, and talking about really good folks, a good old boy, and that's Anthony over at, excuse me for the frog in my throat, Save on Shells, 1827 Overland in Burley. You know, you've probably got a bunch of stuff in your pickup truck, and the weather's going to be changing, and also for safety and security reasons, you don't want everybody to see what's laying in the back of the truck. A camper shell. Absolutely. If you're looking for a camper shell for your pickup, certain style, color, well, you don't have to look any further, because old Anthony at Save on Shells, 1827 Overland in Burley, has quite the selection. Let me tell you, I am entirely happy with the camper shell I purchased from him. You will be too. Quality service and low prices at Save on Shells, 1827 Overland in Burley. The number to call, 312-1525. I've got one other real quick note I've got to get on before we go to our guest, and I want to remind you, this Saturday and Sunday, the Milo and Lois Packer Estate Auction is going to take place. It's a 2-day auction, Saturday the 19th, Sunday the 20th, over in Hagerman, Billingsley Creek State Park Arena. And from the center of Hagerman, go north 1 mile and right off Highway 30. Watch for the signs. Managed by the Bennett Boys Auction Service. It's going to start at 10 o'clock on Saturday, 10:30 on Sunday. They're going to have tractors, farm items, shop tools, furniture, antique glassware, all kinds of things, household items, all of this at the Milo and Lois Packer Estate Auction in Hagerman. Look for the signs this weekend, managed by the Bennett Boys Auction Service. No sale too big, no sale too small. The Bennett Boys, they can sell them all. I am sorry to my next guest to keep her waiting, and I'd like to say good morning to Andy Berger. Andy, good morning. How are you?
Well, good morning. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on the show, Zeb.
You know, Andy, you're basically my back door or backyard neighbor over in Oregon. Why didn't you just stop into the studio this morning?
Well, I would have, had I known. I would have zipped right up there.
I appreciate it. You know, you are a very interesting individual, and I'm going to profess right now, I did not know, and I do not know or appreciate how absolutely devastating and big the problem of sex trafficking in the United States is. You're a survivor that has written a book about this called A Fragile Thread of Hope. I'm going to just let you from the get-go tell us a little bit about your life and what was the transition to write this book.
Of course. Thank you so much. Well, the beginning of any story has to start when you're a little bit younger, and I was actually sex trafficked from age 6 months to 17 years old before there ever was a term for sex trafficking. And my predators lived with me. They were my immediate family and extended family members. And so by the time I was 5, the physical abuse and the sexual abuse and all the things that went with that was so intense, I thought, you know, I'm just going to go out to the street and jump in front of a car because being dead would be better than living in that house and going through the things that they do to me. And so I was sitting out there waiting for a car that never came, amazingly, that day. And as I was looking up into the sky, I just thought, gosh, it's so huge, it's so big. You know, somebody must have made that. Maybe there's somebody bigger than the people that are hurting me. And so as I pondered that as a little 5-year-old person, I felt like in my life God interceded, and he said, I have another path for you. And so as I waited, I finally gave up, went back up to the garage, and I leaned against it, and I just said, if you keep me alive, I'll do whatever you call me to do. Not really fully understanding, of course, what that would mean or how much more pain there would be in my life. And so at 17, that was the last time my birth mother tried to take my life. And I put myself into school to excel there and in work, any jobs I could get. So that's where I got my affirmation and my skill set, so to speak.
Let me ask you, Andy, on a technical advantage first, are you on a speakerphone or a handheld?
I am on a headset. Would you like me to unplug?
If you could and talk directly, we're getting a little echo, and I don't want to lose anything that you have to say this morning. If you wouldn't mind, I'd certainly appreciate that.
Sure, not a problem.
Oh, that is so much better. So much better. You've got a beautiful voice, and I didn't want to miss anything. Let me go back to your being a 5-year-old and going through the horrors of what happened to you by immediate and extended family members. I guess I'm going to show my naivete right here. How and why did this go on without somebody offering help to you?
Well, I think in those days, in the 60s, and early 70s, people were just talking about child abuse and the thought of passing a kid around or doing things. There were other ugly words for what happened, but it is now today, called sex trafficking. But I think everyone, when somebody's abused, somebody always knows that. They always know. It's whether they have the courage or the compassion to say something. It wasn't until many years later, well into my 30s, where I ran into some people that knew me back then, and they were like, we had no idea. We thought something was going on, but we didn't know what to do.
Are there...
And because my birth mother was a teacher, it was like she was protected.
Okay. Let me ask you this. You just made a point, and pardon me for my interruption, but are there warning signs that you would like to address this morning that parents and aunts and uncles, everybody should be aware of? I'm certain there must be some warning signs.
Well, in terms of our kids being snatched and use of commodities, yes, there are some. There's probably a lot more that we don't have time to go into. But basically, okay, so you see somebody, either an older gentleman or an older woman with an opposite sex teenager, let's say. Let's say it's a man and a young girl. How's that young girl dressed? Does she look like she's dressed appropriately for a 12-year-old? Does the body language between the two indicate more of a familial kind of body language, or is there no eye contact between the child and the adult? Does it look like there's tension or, things like that? You kind of have to be a little bit aware that way. But the other part of it is a lot of the predators nowadays will use shelters. Let's say you have a cold weather shelter or a homeless shelter, for an overnight stay. They use U-Hauls. They use moving vans. It can happen so stealth-like. It is kind of hard to catch unless you get educated. And that was one of the reasons, not just for my book, but for other books like In My Backyard, which is a great book for the tactical part. But I always tell people, go to your local law enforcement agency. Ask them, what can I report? Okay, what do I need to look for here? Because if girls and boys are just missing, they go missing, it's not because they choose to run away most of the time. It's because they've been taken, or maybe they thought they were going to meet a friend, or maybe they responded to an ad to be a model or something like that. There's a lot of very creative predators. And so they are local, they are national. We know every single state has sex trafficking to some degree. That's documented.
I'm sitting here just absolutely aghast because I guess my naivete is I didn't know the problem was this big and this exacerbated. And how do you overcome something like this, Andy, mentally? I mean, this has got to wear and tear on your mind, I would think, for the rest of your life.
It does. You're absolutely right. That's very astute. Most people don't think about that, but it does. Just yesterday I had a situation that accessed something I hadn't really thought about for a long time, and, thankfully my husband is very supportive, and, I just have to work it through, but you have to get those skill sets. So partly counseling, partly support from people that are safe. In my life, it was making a choice to never be like those people and making a choice to believe that I did have a purpose in this life, that I did have value. Even though my self-esteem was in the tank, I felt like if I fought hard enough, if I kept moving forward, and I didn't buy the lies that I would get somewhere. And my faith was definitely a huge part of that, because I just refused to believe that someone who can make that big blue sky wouldn't care about someone little like me.
Let me ask you this question, and not that I'm trying to beleaguer the past, but I think it's worthy of asking. What about prosecution, legal prosecution against your family members once you became an adult? Was there any retroactivity against them?
Well, again, in those days, they didn't really have much. When I did go to counseling in my early 30s, I married someone that I didn't realize, was an abusive person at the time, and since divorced from him and happily married to my husband. But at that time, I did not know how to do that. I was still dealing with a lot of self-talk, and even though I was successful in business and in school, I got my law degree and all of that, I still had this fear of being hurt by them in some way. It took me until I was probably 32 to actually report my birth mother to whatever the teachers or whatever the child protection agency was called in California at that time. So, and my birth father had already passed, so it didn't do any good to do anything for him. So it's really hard for victims. I will tell you this. Nobody wants to tell you what somebody else did to them. The shame, the guilt, the feeling like yesterday's garbage, like filth, even though it was not the victim's fault. I didn't do anything to cause those people to do that to me.
Yeah.
They chose, like every other human, to do evil, and other people choose to do good.
God really came into your life and saved your life, didn't he?
Absolutely. To this day, I give all the credit to him, because I would not be here. I had multiple suicide attempts until I figured out that, enough's enough. I either live or I die, and if I live, I win. And he just really took me alongside and kept me going. And then as I grew and I got more confident and I was healthier, I was able to give to other people and look at, what do I want to do? And so that's what happened. His calling is being fulfilled through the kids that we rescue now, through Beulah's Place, which has been about an 11-year process.
Tell me a little bit about Beulah's Place, about the structure and how it runs and who's going to be housed there. Give us a little explanation, please.
Sure. Beulah's Place is a 501c3 nonprofit, and we provide temporary shelter services to at-risk homeless teen boys and girls who are at risk either from trafficking, criminal predators, neglect and abandonment. A lot of people don't think neglect and abandonment constitutes abuse, but it does when that child is a minor. And so throwing them out of the house because you're tired of them, or you don't want to feed them anymore, that's just as bad. But our main goal is these kids that come to us or reach out or are referred to us, we're really their last hope. Most of them have tried suicide. Most of them are on the last thread that they have, that someone will intercede. And what we do is we make sure that we safe house them. We interview them. We safe house them for 3 to 5 months, as long as I have a safe house available, since they're all volunteer homes. And then we make sure they finish high school, whether GED or diploma, and that they have a job, a viable, sustainable job that we help them get. And then in 3 to 5 months, they're ready usually to go independent, meaning they can be a roommate. They might be able to get cheap rent somewhere, which right now in our area is almost impossible. But basically, they're able to go and start living independently with minimal to no assistance. And that's our goal for them as young adults.
Absolutely.
And so 4 of the kids that we rescued, they gave their stories in a fragile thread of hope, and they each have a different story and a different outcome, but it's all positive. So yes, while sex trafficking is evil and people are like, really, we have this in this country? Yes, we do. But the good news is, if we create awareness like you're doing today, and I'm so grateful for that, and we have tools like this book, portion of proceeds go to child abuse and child sex trafficking victims. So this is a tool to kind of softly introduce people to what happens and how it happens, but also to give them hope.
I think
another thing is I'll be speaking in Washington on Capitol Hill in November to press and other dignitaries with the Alliance to End Human Trafficking. And our goal is to create that national voice, all of us collectively saying, enough. We don't want this to be what America's known for.
Absolutely.
Is what it's becoming because it's such a free-for-all right now.
Absolutely.
And the money is so huge in the U.S. alone. $34 billion in sex trafficking.
Oh, my goodness. That's absolutely shameful. You know, one of the things that you said, and I think a lot of people that are basically naive to this problem like I am, that you mentioned girls and boys. I think a lot of people think of the sex trafficking as ladies, girls, females in general, but you mentioned the boys, and that's a problem for them also.
Yes, it is. Not to the same extent as the girls at this time, but let's say if the girls are, say, 2 out of 5, then the boys are like 1 out of 6. But, again, we can only use statistics that are actually reported. There's just as many, if not more, unreported accounts. But I was involved in a case where 2 high school boys, in about 3 months ago, were being pursued by 2 older gentlemen in a pickup truck while they were on track at high school. And they managed to escape and get away and report it. That was documented. But that's how assertive the predators are. They see our kids as commodities. And it's easier to sell a young boy or a young girl, as vile as that sounds, than it is to make a drug, have to package it, have to get distributors, have to go through all the ways that you could get caught. But let's say a young boy invites a young girl out and says, oh, let's stop at my friend's house, and he sells her that night to 5 or 6 of his friends. That young girl's not going to come forward unless she has some kind of extraordinary support system or a will to come forward, because she has to tell you what happened.
I'm sitting here totally amazed and in disbelief that this problem is as big as it is. I would imagine, and I was reading the info sheets before we went on the air this morning, that about 2008, you and your husband on Thanksgiving noticed a homeless girl at a soup kitchen. And I would imagine with your trained eye as to this problem, you can really tell who is on the run and who is so afraid of this problem. Give us a quick instance on that story, if you would, please.
Absolutely. It was Thanksgiving Day. We were serving meals to homeless families at the senior center, as we had done in the past. We saw actually a few of these girls with newborns, and we found out they were living in their cars. And Ed and I just thought when we left, we have to do something. 2008 was kind of the year of the crash, and we had a construction company, so we were just so tight. We didn't have extras to put them all up in hotels. So as we thought about it, like, do we feed them? Yeah, we can feed them. We could rent a warehouse and feed all of these kids. But then what do you do after that? What do you do if you just house them for a few days? Where do they go after that? So out of that desire to help, while it seems like we're moving really slowly, we have changed 38 generations already because of being able to do the safe house system and getting to the root of what needs to happen for these kids.
I've got a caller.
Started, and we are open to all teens, even if they're not originally from Central Oregon. But your listeners can go to BeulahsPlace.org, O-R-G, and they can find out more information. There's some hotline numbers, too, that might be handy as well.
Absolutely.
In case they do think they see something. Better to be safe than sorry.
Absolutely. Andy, we've got a caller, and I'm down to the last 2 minutes. Caller, real quick. Make it a short comment. Go ahead. You're on the air, please.
Yeah, I give you kudos for going to Washington, and I admire you for doing that. But I think Washington is a big part of the problem, and I think that's where a big part of it starts. So good luck.
Respond to the caller, Andy, if you would, please.
Thank you. Yes, I understand that. That's one reason I'm going there. I've been able to speak to agencies like the FBI agency and other places hoping to change the flow. And I believe we're going to have a great turnout, and then eventually in spring have a march on Washington with people who are against trafficking. And we have a lot of huge groups committed to that because it's time to stand up for our kids. And yes, you're right. It's in all areas, and the more power and the more money people we have sometimes, as we've seen in the headlines, the more they get away with it. But let's stop that. Let's at least put a dent in the business end if we can't stop the depravity end.
Let me ask you this. The book is called A Fragile Thread of Hope, written by Andy Berger. And where can they get the book? Where can it be obtained?
Right now on Amazon.com, they can get the paperback or the ebook version simply by going to Amazon.com and clicking or looking up A Fragile Thread of Hope.
Andy, one final question. When people buy the book, read the book, and are closing the cover at the last page, what do you want them to take away and know and understand about the book?
One, who these kids really are, and when we look at them on the streets or wherever, not to make those judgments because you don't know why they're there. Secondly, there is hope for this situation. And thirdly, to have that awareness, as you've mentioned, that this does exist, and maybe they'll find a way to help in their community, whether it's with volunteerism, with resources or finances, because it does take money to rescue these kids and get them through the process. But the awareness, the action, and the hope.
I'll tell you what, I'm very impressed with this lady. She's the founder of Beulah's Place and a survivor of deadly and devastating trafficking and author of the book, A Fragile Thread of Hope. Andy Berger, I wish you a lot of success. God bless you, and I hope you'll come back on the program in the future.
I would love to. Thank you so much, and God bless you and all your listeners.
Thank you very much. A wonderful lady with a very, very harrowing story about human trafficking. She, of course, was exploited for over 17 years and wrote this book, and it's called A Fragile Thread of Hope. Andy Berger, thank you. Right now, I also want to remind you about some really, really good friends of ours at Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living. Deanna and I have been over there. We took the tour right after everything was finished and finalized, and oh, what a beautiful, beautiful place for senior living. 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Now, we took the whole tour, looked at the rooms, looked at all the amenities, looked at the kitchen, my favorite place, and, of course, it's just absolutely wonderful. Why don't you call for a appointment to go by and see the facilities for your senior in your family? Absolutely a wonderful place. Call Matt or Kelly Wiggins at 208-650-4979. That number again, 650-4979. And believe me, it's so true. Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Seniors living the good life with their friends. Absolutely. Right now, we're going to send it back over to our main studio. I'll be back in about 3 minutes. Don't you go away.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Thank you very much, and welcome back to our last half hour. You know, every day on this program, I get a chance to talk about and tell you about all our great advertisers and sponsors. These folks at Patterson's Electronics at 421 East Main in Burley are the nicest people to work with, Curtis and Lorena and their staff, and they literally have all your electronic needs. Absolutely. Home theater systems, they've got them. Video surveillance cameras for your protection of your property and yourself, they've got them. Car stereos and speakers, complete sound systems, and all the TVs, great selection of Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, LG TVs, and they're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6, and I urge you to stop in and talk to the people that really want to serve you. And also, they have the new Ring hardware, you know, for your doorbells and surveillance systems. Absolutely important in this day and age. I urge you to stop in at Patterson's, 421 East Main in Burley, or give them a call at 678-6997. There's a gentleman that I just absolutely loved his book. It's all dog-eared and full of highlighter and everything, and it's called Inconvenient Facts, the science that Al Gore doesn't want you to know, and he's been on my program many, many times and will be on here in the future. Good morning, Gregory Wrightstone. How are you?
Well, very good, old friend. I'll have to get you another book out there. Now, actually, we just authorized the 5th printing of the book here 2 days ago. And the book, you'll be happy to know, thanks in part to you, was recently, just 2 days ago, it's still number one in a couple of categories, but it was the number one best-selling book on Amazon in 6 categories just Monday and Tuesday, so it's been pretty wild.
Congratulations, and may I say, after looking and studying at the book many, many times, well-deserved. Thank you to you. Gregory.
Well, thank you very much. Can I, before we get in, I know you got a couple questions, I'd like to just share what I did yesterday. I spoke at a geologic conference, probably 400 people there, to just a packed standing room only audience. The fellow before me was from Penn State, a professor, and the title of his talk was "The Rock Solid Evidence for Man-Made Warming," and I followed him up with basically "No, it's wrong. You're wrong. It's not man-made." And then we had a panel discussion, which turned into a pretty heated debate. It was heated on his part, so it was a fascinating day for me, and so I'll have a link I'll get out to you once I get the video in.
Well, listen, I've got to ask you more about this. I mean, they put you on after this man that was condemnation of mankind and fossil fuels, and how did you follow that up, and were there any dissenters or catcalls in the audience? Tell us about it.
Well, most geologists, it was a very friendly audience. Most geologists believe as I do, because we're used to looking at the big picture. We're probably, we are the only scientific group, or maybe not the only, but we're the scientists that believe strongest in naturally driven warming, because we look at the long-term picture. So no, it was very friendly to me, and I was glad he went first and I could follow him. But no, I took no prisoners. I didn't. And then we got into a panel discussion, and no, I laid it out. I told the people in the audience a lot of things they'd never heard before. Well, a lot of these people here had already had my book and had heard me speak before. But it was I held my own, and it was a little bit stressful because I hadn't done this before in this setting, in this big of a stage, in a debate setting, and so I was a little bit stressed the last few days, and but I handled it well, and like I say, I'll get a link out to you once we get the video in here, and I think I represented our cause very well.
I'm very proud to have you on the program right after that. Let me ask you this question in regards to that. You said the other gentleman started to lose his cool, per se, and possibly bustle up and hustle up and get mad over you disputing his so-called facts. Did you change people's minds with your dissertation against him?
Oh, I think so. I think so. I think I know several people in the audience that really didn't like what I have to say, and they were there. And they hadn't actually heard what I had to say before. They just thought their opinion of me was I'm a science denier, and I don't have fact-based information because I don't agree with the 97% consensus. What they saw yesterday was a fact and science-based presentation saying, no, these are the reasons why our current temperatures are not unusual, they're not unprecedented. It's a recurring, the warming trend that we're in is another naturally driven warming trend, just like we've had periodically throughout since the end of the last ice age. And that's, when you look at that big picture and the information. Well, I'll give you an example, Zeb, if I can.
Yes, please.
I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
But we've had about 0.8 of a degree centigrade warming since 1850, and the fellow before me actually stated that, so I used that number, and I agree with that. But if you look at the other warming trends that take place maybe every 600 or 800 years, we have about 9 of these other warming trends. Each one of them had warming anywhere from 2.5 to 3 degrees centigrade. So these other trends periodically have had twice the warming often that we've seen so far in this trend, and that's not what they want you to know. They want you to think that our current temperatures are unusual and unprecedented. And he called it a crisis. He said that he went by 2100. He showed areas in Saudi Arabia that you'll die. You're going to die almost immediately with the temperatures that he's predicted. And he said, this is a crisis, and we have to do something about it. No, it's not. No, it's not at all. Actually, the guy next to me, there was a third gentleman he was representing carbon dioxide sequestration. In other words, they take carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and store it underground forever, they think. I talked to him afterwards, and he had never heard a lot of what I talked about. And his point was, well, what if, I heard what you're saying. If you're right, well, then we don't have to do this, but what if you're wrong? What if you're wrong? And I asked him, well, so what if you're wrong? We're going to economically cripple the United States. We're going to put tens of millions of people out of work. We're going to cause poverty and cause people to stay in poverty. What if you're wrong? And I look at things, as you know, these catastrophic events they talk about are predictions of what might happen by the year 2100, and I look at what's going on actually in the real world today to find out that the Earth is thriving and prospering.
You know, Greg, I get a chance every day, and I really thank God for this, that I get a chance to visit with people like you, whether it's in Pennsylvania, New York, Los Angeles, wherever the case might be. And everybody that I've talked to, if I get a chance to do a little preliminary with them off the air, we talk a little bit about various things. And one of the things I always ask about is, have you noticed any distinct weather changes in your seasons or your temperatures or anything that alludes to man-made climate change, etc.? Most all the people say they don't understand where all this fear of we're burning up, we're all going to hell if we don't stop fossil fuels. They don't understand where this big scare is coming and why it's perpetrated every day. And I don't notice any climate change, if you will, right here in southern Idaho. We're going through a very normal fall pattern of temperatures that are on the decline. We've had some threats of snow, and we're going to have more threats of snow. Nothing out of the ordinary. Where do these people come from that we're all going to die in 11 years?
Well, they've done a really good job sowing fear and alarm amongst the population, haven't they? And they twist everything that's possible. They twist into some scary event related to our emissions of CO2.
Right.
And it's up to, I kind of put the weight of that on my shoulders to expose the fallacy of what they're doing, and just be able to state the science, the facts, and the data that says, no, they're lying to you. This is why they're lying to you. Here's what the reality is. There is one thing, Zeb, that I've noticed. I was going to include it as a chapter in my book. The title was going to be Snow Joke. Just about everybody I talk to thinks that, we had lots more snow when I was a child than what we have today. I mean, everybody knows that, right? Just about. And I've talked to many generations in my own family, and each generation says the same thing when they were children. And then I went back and I found quotes from Thomas Jefferson and other historical figures, and they all said the same thing. So that's the one thing that everybody thinks is true, but it's not. And just think about it: when you're a child and you're 6 years old or 8 years old, and you get a foot of snow and it comes up, half up past your knees. Well, that's a huge event in your life. And you went out and you missed 3 days of school. You made snow forts with your brothers and sisters, and that's the event that what looks to be a huge snowfall when you're 3 feet tall. It sticks in your mind, and that's what people remember. So that's the one thing that I do hear with people just saying, "Oh no, we always had big." But then go talk to people in each generation of your family, and they'll probably tell you, because if you look at the science, snowfall, you can make a pretty good argument that snow cover at least in North America that I've looked at in the United States, is slightly increased, actually, over the last 60 or 80 years.
You know, Greg, you talked about fear-mongering earlier, and it's so true. We have a person that lives as the crow flies, probably not more than 30 miles from where I'm speaking right now, and he's a former Idaho Attorney General and a former Idaho Supreme Court judge, and we've talked about him, Jim Jones, in the past. Some of his headlines are nothing more than fear-mongering, like climate change, pay now or pay a lot later, or here's the one, the next mass extinction is upon us. I mean, you talk about fear-mongering, and this guy is not a meteorologist or a climatologist, has nothing to do with the weather whatsoever.
Right, it doesn't. And I believe we've talked about this mass extinction lie that the UN was pushing, that I actually exposed that, and then it was used on Capitol Hill in testimony with my science that disproved that notion. And the reality is, if we look at extinctions of species, we're doing a really, really, really good job protecting and preserving endangered species. In species extinctions peaked in the late 1800s, and they've been in significant decline ever since. And so that's easily debunked with the actual data that I've been able to put together there.
You know,
and you would open it up too. There's a crazy new group that's coming to a city near you called Extinction Rebellion. They're the one that sprayed the fake human blood in London and on Wall Street. These guys are Extinction Rebellion. They're not quite as dangerous yet as Antifa, but they're extremists in the same regard, and they just want to shut down cities. And their goal is to actually take down governments, and all Western governments. And the founder of it says he wants to do it simultaneously, bring down all Western governments and replace it with his form of government that he wants to impose, which I'm not sure exactly what it would be, but it would probably begin with F and end in fascism. It's not good. This guy is a Roger Hallam. He says he decided to take down the system because I don't like it very much. And he's very open that he's not really pushing climate change. He doesn't care, but he's using it as a tool to promote his notion of this radical rebellion. And it's Extinction Rebellion just really arrived on the scene in the United States. I think you're going to see much more of them, and they might actually replace some of the Antifa or recruit Antifa-like people into their movement.
Well, it sounds like from the information sheet that was sent to me, Greg, it was quoted as saying on the sheet to have you on the program, almost 400 scientists have endorsed a civil disobedience campaign regarding climate change. And you know, when you talk about this, and you talk about Antifa, and you talk about all the corruption and chaos in our streets, these people are probably capable of doing anything, and we all should be fearful, should we not?
You mean fearful of climate change?
No, of these civil disobedient groups that are starting up.
Oh, yes. Yeah, these guys are, the gentleman that sent you the information with the link to that, he sent me a voicemail that he received last week, threats full of F-bombs and disparaging his children, and it's not good. And yeah, and we get that this latest one, and they've been escalating. But then again, I guess, what do they say? If you're taking flak, you're probably directly over the target. So
right.
I'm going to keep dropping bombs on them, and maybe we can get some more of this information out there. And it is thanks to people like you, Zeb, that have me on, and we can talk about this and use the actual science to debunk the nonsense that we're hearing. But with this Extinction Rebellion, it's you're going to see it again coming to a city near you soon. and because they've just arrived on the scene in the United States.
Let me ask you one final thought, and I've asked you this before, but I want you to give me another short answer. I've got about a minute and a half left. When you talk to these people like you did when you were in debate with this other person that blamed mankind for climate change, what do they want? What is their ultimate goal, or what are they searching for on climate? Surely they must have answers of optimum of 72 degrees or 80 degrees. What are they saying for optimum, what they want?
Well, that was actually, part of this was we were supposed to ask each other one question initially. My question was, since you apparently think that our temperatures today are bad, what is the ideal temperature for the Earth and humanity? And he just went, oh, and he basically parroted the line from Dr. Michael Mann from Penn State. When he was asked that, he said, well, clearly it was the temperature before we started adding CO2. Well, you and I have talked many times about the Little Ice Age. That would put us in the temperatures of the Little Ice Age back that ranged between the 1300 and 1800, when half the population of Iceland perished. A third of the population of the world perished. They don't care. They're not interested. They're saving the Earth. And so he didn't really have a good answer. So I don't think they know. And when they say things like that and are confronted with what that actually means, they just don't get it.
I tell you, every time you're on this program, I feel better educated about what the truth really is. The man has written the book, and if you don't have the book, get the book, Inconvenient Facts, the science that Al Gore doesn't want you to know, written by Gregory Wrightstone. I consider him a dear friend of this program. Please come back soon.
Thank you very much.
God bless. Thank you. I can't wait to read that link, and I wished I could have been there at that debate where he literally had the, I got to blame mankind for everything person on that panel absolutely upset. That would have been interesting. Right now we got to go to the weather, and the weather is brought to you by Don Scarrow and the crew at Scarrow's Meats. Oh, all the delicious meats, whether it's the marinated pork ribs, they are so good. Or the tri-tips, or maybe any one of the kinds of buckboard bacon. They got different kinds of bacon. They've got all the sausages. They've got all the bratwurst, my favorite. All of this and so much more. Go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. Scarrow's Meats, number to call, 324-7657. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Today's the nicest day of the weekend, then we're going to be cooling off with precipitation for the weekend. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies for today. High of 74, slight breeze out of the east at about 6 miles an hour. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies with a low of about 44. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy. We are expecting a high of 58. Winds are going to be picking up out of the south at about 10 miles an hour. Winds could gust as high as 25 miles an hour. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy skies with a low of 35. By Friday, mostly sunny. High of 53. Winds out of the west at about 15. Gusts as high as 25 miles an hour. And by Saturday, rain showers all day long and a high of 50. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb Duran.
And I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you, and brought to you by Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. That telephone number again, 324-7657. Absolutely delicious meats. Don Scarrow, they really pride themselves on being numero uno, absolutely. Changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time at Scarrow's Meats. I've got time for one more quick call. Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Quick note, again, next Thursday, not tomorrow, next Thursday, the 24th, will be Lunch Bunch Day at Denny's Restaurant in Burley, America's Diner, and it's going to be our Halloween costume contest. Now, we're going to be providing prizes to the top costumes for Halloween. So that's next Thursday on the 24th at Denny's Restaurant, Zeb at the Ranch gathering for the month of October. And if this costume contest is anything like what we've had in the past, it is going to be wild, woolly, and fun. We're looking forward to it. And so Zeb's Lunch Bunch at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, on the 24th, Thursday the 24th next week. Don't miss it. Want to remind you, too, about our major sponsor, and we really appreciate everything they do for all of us. They're having right now at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers a great big fall tire sale. You can save a lot of money. You bet you can, and get the best and safest of tires for your vehicle or your trailers of any kind. I'll tell you, it's all there at all 7 locations. Along with the tire sale, there's the best in brake service. They've got highly trained brake technicians that really know their stuff. Front end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries. So I urge you to stop in and see them today. Well, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, you're on the air.
Hey, old Rogers, the way he dropped them passes in there, I mean, you couldn't have done it. I mean, like I say, I'm not a Green Bay fan, but that is some sweet action that he had.
Well, let me tell you something, you raunchy old Minnesota Viking fan. I tell you what happened to me real quick. Monday night, I fell asleep and missed the end of the game.
Well, both Stafford and Rodgers were doing the same thing, but Rodgers was just a little more precise. I'm telling you, them boys were dropping some stuff in there. And those passes that he dropped in there that were caught, I mean, it's just, Kirk Cousins, once in a while he's on, but he ain't no Aaron Rodgers. And, hey, now Boise State, they're tough. I think they're going to be tough. We don't want to get arrogant or anything, but boy, I tell you what, them boys are tough.
14th in the nation, and I think with another victory, the coaches' polls about midseason, they always have a tendency to shift a lot of the schools to a higher number or a lower number, and I think Boise State's going to be moving up. Randy, I got to run, but I appreciate the kind words for the Green Bay Packers because I fell asleep and missed the excitement at the end of the game. Thank you.
Well, I tell you what, it was. You got to respect it no matter what.
All right, buddy. Thank you very much. And right now we're going to wrap things up and tell you that Sharon Wilmot's going to be on the program tomorrow. And we always wrap the show up by saying the way things were, the way things ought to be. And don't forget the 4 most important words on Zeb at the Ranch program, in God we trust. We'll see you later. Don't forget, tune in tomorrow for Sharon at 8:06. I'll see you Monday at the same time. God bless.